All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little Golden State Warrior video. Now, today was the Mike Dunleavy Jr. press conference. They introduced Dunleavy Jr. as the new GM of the Golden State Warriors. And let's talk about some of the things that I thought were interesting in the press conference. One of the things, when the draft was addressed, it's weird. I agreed with some of the things that they said, and then I disagreed with some of the other things that came out. One of the things I did agree with is when Dunleavy was asked about the draft, he says, "We want guys who know how to play basketball," and to me, that was an absolute slap at Jonathan Kuminga. It was very raw, and I just think that the Warriors understand that there are some players in the draft that have traits but are very raw. And there's other guys in the draft who have more experience playing basketball and they're more ready to contribute. The Warriors' offensive system under Steve Kerr relies on body movement, ball movement, playing off the ball, moving off the ball. Some of those are advanced characteristics that sometimes take young players a while to learn. And I think that the Warriors, while they want to participate in the draft, I don't anticipate them trading out of the draft. They also want guys who have basketball skill. They want guys who are ready to play. And I think Kuminga is an example of a young, talented player who's just not quite ready to play and that he needs skill development. I don't think they want to spend a lot of time developing skill. I think they want guys who understand how to play the game and want to play. And there are a few in this draft, but they're not a lot. And can they find the skilled players that don't need a ton of development? I'll give you a few of them. Grady Dick from Kansas is, maybe the best shooter in the entire draft. Very polished player, despite only playing his freshman year of college basketball. Grady Dick is a tremendous shooter, tremendously skilled. And a lot of people feel he's going to be able to step into the NBA and use that one skill, his shooting, and be able to contribute right away in a regular rotation. And so maybe they'll figure out a way to trade up from 19 to get a player like that. Another guy who's real polished, Jordan Hawkins, who played two guard for the Yukon Huskies, who won it all this year. Went to the Final Four and won the national championship. And Hawkins has just got a beautiful shot, very very smooth shot. Looks like the kind of guy that could step into an NBA rotation right now and start to make a contribution. Couple other really skilled players that I could see them going for. Chris Murray, Keegan Murray's brother, who plays at Iowa, 6'8" combo forward, plays a little small forward, plays a little power forward, and just has a buttery shot. I mean, just very soft shot, real good range, comes off his hand real naturally. He's an interesting player for sure. Trace Jackson Davis from Indiana. A lot of ways kind of reminds me of a sort of a Draymond Green. He's an undersized five. He's a 6'9", 250-pound power forward slash center whose dad was Dale Davis. And maybe that's why he seems so advanced. He's not much of a shooter. So I don't know if he's a great fit to play alongside Draymond Green, but man, several of the things that make Draymond great make Trace Jackson Davis great. The man they call TJD. He's a shot. TJD's a shot blocker. He's a rebounder, scored over 20 a game in the Big Ten this year for Indiana. Quick jumper, great athlete, can run the floor. And, he'll block shots. He's a good passer. He'll get other people involved. He's a good rebounder. He's just not a perimeter shooter. I don't think he took a 3-point shot the entire year, and he's going to have to kind of prove that he's got a 3-point shot in his arsenal. Couple other real polished players that I think the Warriors may choose from in this draft. Ben Shepherd out of Belmont, very polished player who went to the Chicago pre-draft camp and shot the heck out of it and has got a good handle and really has a lot of skill. Another skilled player is Tristan Vukovic from Real Madrid, who's a Serbian-born stretch 4, stretch 5, and he's just got a Klay Thompson-like release. He's just an incredible shooter. He's not much of a defender, but he is a phenomenal perimeter shooter, 3-point shooter. One other guy that I really love is Sidi Sissoko, who played for the G League. He's a Canadian. He's from France, I should say. And, real mature player who can pass the ball. Think of him as like a 6'7", 6'8" point guard. He's got great passing skills. He's definitely a developing player, but man, CD Sissoko, a very, very mature player who's ready to play right away. So, those were some of the takeaways as far as the draft. The one thing I didn't agree with is I didn't agree with Dunleavy's assessment that, he's like, hey, we got a hell of a roster and we're not that far away. Well, I don't know about that. You lost to the Lakers in the second round. They then got swept by Denver. I think the Warriors are kind of a little bit away. I mean, and I don't think that they're, it's like, is Draymond coming back or not? Is Jordan Poole on this roster or not? Is Jonathan Kuminga going to be traded or not? The Warriors had not enough players in their prime last year, and they had a number of players who were older, like Steph and Clay and Draymond and Iguodala, who are getting further and further away every day from their prime years. And then they also have 5 or 6 guys on their roster that were 22 or younger. Kuminga and Moody and Rollins and PBJ, and they just had so many young players, Jordan Poole for that matter. So, the Warriors have an awful lot of players that aren't in their prime. They got guys that are too young, they got guys that are too old. And I just don't know if I agree with Dunleavy when he says that there's not a lot to do. I think there is kind of a lot to do. Is Draymond coming back, or is he moving on? What do you do with Klay Thompson? Klay Thompson is making $43 million in the final year of his deal. Is he going to get an extension, or is he going to be in a lame duck situation? How about the coach, Steve Kerr? Kerr's has 1 year left on his contract. Is he here long term, or is this the final year of Steve Kerr? So I just look at the Warriors and think, man, there are some monumental decisions on the horizon. What do you do with Clay? What do you do with Draymond? What do you do with Jordan Poole? Are you going to trade Jordan Poole? He's got a $27 million contract this year, but he doesn't he's fallen in love with deep threes, and he refuses to put it on the deck and go to the hole. He only shot four free throws the entire Lakers series. This guy's got, he's potentially a 95% free throw shooter, and he should live at the foul line, but he doesn't know how to get to the foul line, and he doesn't particularly like to drive, and he doesn't particularly like contact. So what's Jordan Poole's future? Is he just going to be kind of a cheap knockoff on Steph Curry? He only made 25% of his threes in the playoffs. He only made 32% of his threes in the regular season. So he's not the three-point marksman that Curry is. And yet, when you watch Poole play, you would swear that he thinks he is. He takes heat check threes. So he's not the player that Curry is, but he thinks he is, and that's the way he plays. The Warriors really need him to put the ball on the deck and to penetrate and get into the lane, and he refuses to do it. He's got a terrible reputation among officials, so he's always pouting and looking sad that he's not getting calls. And it's just, he's right now, it's like you couldn't design a worse situation. I mean, he is a terrific shooter, but as far as his perimeter shot, his 3-point shot is a work in progress. But he's fallen in love with shooting deep threes like he's Steph Curry, and he's not Steph Curry. And then they really need him to put the ball on the deck and go to the rim and draw fouls and go to the line. But he shows no interest in doing that because he really doesn't want to face any of that contact in the lane. So the Warriors are probably at a crossroads with Jordan Poole. Dunleavy did reference the fact that other teams are showing interest in Poole and Kuminga. The other takeaway I got is that Kuminga's gone. When you hear Dunleavy talk about how he wants, rookies that can know how to play basketball, that's a direct shot at Kuminga. And I just feel like Kuminga's most likely going to be traded. Poole may or may not be traded. Sounds like they would like to have Draymond Green back, but he's opted out. And Klay Thompson's future is unknown. So overall, Mike Dunleavy said a number of interesting things. Can he work with Joe Lacob? Can he work with Steve Kerr? What are the future of some of their veterans? What's the future of some of their key cogs? And the big question is, how do they get better? If you don't want to trade Draymond Green, you don't want to trade Klay Thompson, you don't want to trade Jordan Poole, how do you get better from last year to this year? And that right there, I think, is very much hanging in the balance. So interesting presser for sure. I think the good news of the presser was that, Dunleavy doesn't feel like there's a lot to do. But that also may be the bad news because there may be a lot to do. If you like Jordan Poole, he suggested that maybe Poole will be here for the next 4 years. But then he also, at the same time, said that there's a number of teams around the NBA that have inquired about Poole and like Poole. So, are they going to move Jordan Poole? Are they going to move Jonathan Kuminga? I would say Kuminga's as good as gone. Poole, it's 50-50. Um, the other bottom line here is they have to have Draymond Green back. And the one thing I really did like about what Dunleavy said is he didn't make any bones about it. He's like, we need Draymond Green. And Steve Kerr has made that point perfectly clear as well. The Warriors are, in Kerr's mind, are not a title contender without Green. And then Dunleavy took the mic and pretty much said the exact same thing. So they know they got to have Draymond back, but can they afford him? What's the future of Klay Thompson? There's trade rumors, but he's also an iconic player. Is Jonathan Kuminga gone? My read on the situation is that he is. And then what's the future of Jordan Poole? Is he going to be a Warrior? Is he going to be traded elsewhere? Does Joe need to get out from underneath some of that money? There's a financial component to any move involving Jordan Poole that may be absolutely essential to saving money for the owner. So a very interesting press conference, to say the least. The one thing that I thought was really surprising was when Dunleavy said, "Hey, we're not that far away. We don't have lots to do." Some people may look at this roster and say so, but I don't know. When I look at it, I think there is kind of a lot to do, and you've got some huge decisions to make. Do you keep Klay Thompson? Do you trade him? Do you keep Draymond Green? Do you trade him? Do you keep Jonathan Kuminga? Do you trade him? Do you keep Jordan Poole? Do you trade him? Can you attract veterans on league minimum deals to round out your roster, or is the run over and you're not going to run, with Denver and whatever the top teams are in the NBA next year, at a chance at winning a title? So a lot of very interesting revelations, to say the least, from the Mike Dunleavy presser. All right, hope you enjoyed our Warrior video. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of The Krug Show. And thanks to all of you for supporting The Krug Show on YouTube.